So I will speak kind of on several points with respect how UK experience can be helpful for Ukraine. And you will be surprised to hear that actually several weeks ago, most of the UK energy lawyers were speaking about Ukraine. They were amazed because there was an interesting article in the Herald about the fact that Ukraine during the war has managed to build more wind projects than England last year. And in England, only 2 wind turbines have been commissioned, where in Ukraine during the war, we have commissioned almost 200 megawatts. So, but there is a reason for this. And the reason is basically UK has quite complicated permitting procedure, which actually became an obstacle to commission the projects. In Ukraine, those projects were commissioned because companies which were doing them, they managed to bring turbines before the war, and they took a risk to implement them. But it is kind of one example where we can be kind of proud that despite of the war, we managed to build projects. It is a great respect to these companies. But on the other hand, there are many situations where we can take examples how UK is doing projects. And basically, I would like to focus on 2 aspects, offshore wind and hydrogen. And yes, UK has a lot of onshore wind, and basically it is developing, and there are new rounds for contract for difference. So it is kind of more or less stable, and there is no need to focus on this. But it is a different situation with offshore wind. With offshore wind, right now, UK is the international leader on doing projects. UK has one of the first offshore wind projects already working and implemented. But in next 10, 15 years, UK is planning to build massive amounts of projects. So it is dozens, hundreds of gigawatts. So I would stop on Scotland, because right now I'm based in Scotland, and Scotland is actually have done a very interesting project. It is called ScotWind. In 2022, they announced that they actually allocated seabed rights for 28 gigawatts of offshore wind, and they plan to build it within next 10, 12 years. It will be massive. It will bring UK to one of their kind of pioneers in this sector. And the point is that we can learn about this experience, and it is important to understand that, yes, Scotland has announced these projects, they allocated them, but right now it is possible to see also what type of problems there are in implementation of these projects. For example, there are problems that all of these projects has been allocated at the same time, and right now all of the permitting authorities, they should issue permits at the same time. It is very kind of difficult for the government to allocate and permit the projects in parallel. So now they learn this issue, and for example, next projects can be done step by step. And another issue is that you should invest a lot into the grid. And it is also important and can be replicated to Ukraine, because the grid is the main for investment into the sector. And it is very relevant to Ukraine. You can have a lot of turbines installed, but if you don't have a grid, you will not be able to transmit your electricity. Another aspect is building supply chain. And it is also important that for these large projects, UK is investing a lot of funds which are co-funded by developers. For example, for this ScotWind, there is a special program. It is a SIM program, strategic investment model, where developers, together with the government, they allocate money for building the supply chain. And also they have legislation which is necessary and it should be in place for implementation of the projects. Also investment into the human resources. It is very important, which can be also used as an example for Ukraine. Another interesting aspect is hydrogen. And in the UK, hydrogen sector is one of the most developed at the moment in the world. It is quite interesting factors that there are companies which already develop and build projects even before the regulatory framework is in place. So it is amazing, because in Ukraine, for example, no one will invest into a project where you don't have a reliable financial stream, when you don't know how the sector will be built. Here it is possible because companies they are ready to risk, and they understand the regulatory framework will be efficient, and they already developed a hydrogen standard. They developed a business model which will be based on the contract for difference, like for renewable energy, and they already allocated funding for building the sector, both for developers in order to do pilot projects, and basically there is a subsidy regime at the moment. So many important examples can be taken for Ukraine based on the UK experience. Right now we have a privilege to see how UK is doing projects, what problems they have, and we have opportunity to avoid them in the future. Thank you.